Barbecue ribs are a special thing. They bring people together. The smell of smoke fills the air. Everyone gets excited. It's more than just food. It's a feeling. It's about taking your time. It's about making something delicious with your own hands. The perfect rib is tender. The meat pulls away from the bone easily. It is juicy and full of flavor. It has a nice crust on the outside. Making great ribs is an art, but it is an art that anyone can learn. You just need a little patience and a good plan. This guide will show you how to do it right. First, you need to choose the right ribs. This is a very important step. Go to your butcher. Ask for a good rack of pork ribs. You have two main choices. St. Louis-style ribs are flatter and more uniform. They are trimmed neatly. This makes them easy to work with and they cook very evenly. Baby back ribs are smaller and more curved. They come from higher up on the pig, near the backbone. They are a bit leaner but very tender. For beginners, I often recommend St. Louis-style ribs. They give you a little more room for error. Look for a rack with good meat coverage over the bones. Avoid racks with too much surface fat. Now it is time to prepare your ribs. Take them out of the package. Pat them dry with a paper towel. This helps the seasoning stick better. Now flip the rack over. You will see a thin, shiny membrane on the bone side. You need to remove this. It is tough and keeps the smoke and flavor out. Slide a butter knife under one edge of the membrane. Get a good grip on it with a paper towel. The paper towel helps you hold on because the membrane is slippery. Pull it off slowly and carefully. It should come off in one big sheet. Don't worry if it tears, just get all of it off. Once the membrane is gone, it is time for a little trimming. You don't need to do much. Look for any large, hard pieces of fat. Trim them off with a sharp knife. You want to leave some fat for flavor, but you want to remove the thick chunks that won't render down nicely. Also, look for any loose, dangly bits of meat. These can burn during the long cook. Trim them off to make the rack more even. Your goal is a clean, rectangular rack. This will help it cook evenly. Now your ribs are prepped. They are ready for the most important flavor step, the rub. The rub is where you build your flavor. It is a mix of salt, pepper, and spices. This is what creates that beautiful crust or bark on the outside of the ribs. A good rub does two things. It adds a deep, savory flavor to the meat. It also helps the surface dry out just enough. This allows the smoke to stick to it. You can buy a pre-made rub from the store. There are many great ones out there. Or you can make your own. Making your own is fun. It lets you control the flavors exactly how you like them. A simple rub is often the best. It lets the flavor of the pork and smoke shine. Let's make a classic, simple rub. You don't need a lot of fancy ingredients. The core of a good Texas-style rub is just two things. You need kosher salt and coarse ground black pepper. I like to use a 50-50 mix by volume. So, half a cup of salt and half a cup of black pepper. That's it. That is the foundation. If you want to add more, you can. A little granulated garlic adds a nice touch. Some paprika will give it a beautiful red color. A small amount of chili powder can add a little bit of warmth. Mix all your spices together in a bowl until they are well combined. Now it is time to apply the rub. Some people use a binder. This is something wet to help the rub stick. Yellow mustard is a popular choice. You won't taste the mustard after it cooks. It just helps the rub adhere. You can also use a little hot sauce or even just water. Spread a very thin layer of your binder all over the ribs. Make sure you cover the front, the back, and the sides. Don't use too much. You just want a very light coating. This step makes sure every inch of the rib is ready for that delicious seasoning you just made. Get your rub in a shaker, or just use your hands. Be generous with the rub. Sprinkle it evenly all over the rack of ribs. Don't be shy. You want a good, solid coat. Cover the meaty side first, then flip it over and do the bone side. Don't forget the edges. Every surface should be covered in that wonderful spice mix. Once it's on, gently pat it down. Don't actually rub it in, as that can make it pasty. Just pat it so it sticks. Let the ribs sit with the rub on for about 15 to 30 minutes. You will see the rub start to look wet. That means the salt is drawing out moisture. This is good. It's creating a brine on the surface. Setting up your cooker is key. Whether you have a smoker or a grill, the goal is the same. We need low, indirect heat. We are aiming for a temperature between 250 and 275 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the sweet spot for ribs. If you are using a charcoal grill, push all the hot coals to one side. This creates a hot zone and a cool zone. The ribs will go on the cool zone. This is indirect cooking. If you have an offset smoker, you know the drill. Get your fire going in the firebox. Let the main chamber heat up slowly and steadily. The type of wood you use matters. For pork, I love woods like oak, hickory, or pecan. Cherry or apple wood adds a nice sweet flavor. Now it is time to put the ribs on the cooker. Place the rack bone side down on the grates. Put it in the cooler, indirect heat zone. You don't want the ribs directly over the fire. That will cook them too fast and burn them. Once the ribs are on, close the lid. Now the hardest part begins, waiting. You need to let the smoker do its job. Don't open the lid every 10 minutes. Every time you open it, you let out all the heat and smoke. Trust the process. Let the cooker maintain that steady temperature. Your job for the next couple of hours is to manage the fire and the temperature. Keep it in that 250 to 275 degree range. After about 2 or 3 hours, it's time to check on your ribs. Open the lid and take a look. You should see a beautiful dark mahogany crust forming. This is the bark. The rub and the smoke have created a masterpiece. At this point, I like to spritz the ribs. I use a simple mix of apple cider vinegar and water in a spray bottle. A light spritz every 45 minutes or so helps keep the surface from drying out. It also adds another layer of flavor. Some people like to wrap their ribs in foil at this stage. This is called the Texas crutch. It helps speed up the cook and makes the ribs very tender. You can add a little apple juice or butter in the foil before you wrap them. The cooking process is all about feel. There is no exact time. Every rack of ribs is different. A full cook can take anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. If you wrap your ribs, you will want to unwrap them for the last hour of cooking. This helps firm the bark back up. The real test of doneness isn't time, it's tenderness. You need to know when they are ready to come off the heat. There are a few simple tests you can do. One is the bend test. Pick up the rack with a pair of tongs from the center. If the surface cracks and the rack bends easily, they are getting close. The meat should pull back from the ends of the bones too. To sauce or not to sauce? That is the big question. A great rack of ribs doesn't need sauce. The flavor from the meat, the rub, and the smoke should be enough. But a good barbecue sauce can be delicious. It can add a sweet and tangy final layer. If you're going to sauce, do it at the very end of the cook. You don't want to put it on too early. Most barbecue sauces have a lot of sugar in them. If you add it too soon, the sugar will burn over the heat. This will give your ribs a bitter, unpleasant taste. Wait until the last 20 to 30 minutes of cooking before you even think about grabbing that sauce bottle. When you are ready to sauce, use a light touch. You are not trying to hide the flavor of the ribs. You're trying to complement it. Warm your sauce up a little bit in a small pot. This helps it spread more easily. Use a brush to apply a thin, even layer of sauce over the top of the ribs. Just a light glaze is all you need. After you apply the sauce, close the lid of the cooker. Let the ribs cook for another 15 to 20 minutes. This allows the sauce to heat up and get a little sticky. It will caramelize slightly, but not burn. This step makes the sauce become part of the rib, not just a topping. How do you know for sure when the ribs are perfectly done? The best way is the probe test. Use a toothpick or an instant read thermometer probe. Poke it into the thickest part of the meat between the bones. It should go in with very little resistance. It should feel like you are pushing it into a jar of peanut butter or soft butter. If you have to push hard, they need more time. If it slides in easily, they are ready. The internal temperature will be around 203 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the temperature where all the tough connective tissue has melted into delicious gelatin. Once the ribs are done, take them off the smoker. This is a very important step. Let them rest. Place them on a cutting board and let them sit for about 10 to 15 minutes before you slice them. This allows the juices inside to settle back into the meat. If you cut into them right away, all that flavor will run out onto the board. After they have rested, it is time to slice. Flip the rack over so you can see the bones. Use a long, sharp knife to cut between each bone. Serve them up hot with some pickles, onions, and maybe some extra sauce on the side. You did it. You mastered the art of BBQ ribs. Enjoy every single bite.